Welcome to Reddit After Hours. This is r/PettyRevenge, where OP gets back at a grocery store full of people that are bullying a 4-year-old. Our first Reddit post comes from FitMuscle4668, titled, "Tell me the service I paid for won't happen." I'm not sure if this counts as revenge, but I was petty. I moved to a new place. I had to get the gas hooked up. I scheduled an appointment with the gas company technician for around 10 a.m. I paid the deposit too. At 9:30 a.m., I'm at the gym near my house when I get a phone call that the technician is sick and can't make it. Me, can't you just send someone else? The rep, impossible. We have no one else. Me, but you are literally canceling 30 minutes before. Rep, haven't you ever been sick? These things happen. We have to reschedule. Me, I had to free up my schedule for this meeting. I'm not mad that the technician is sick. I'm mad that you don't have a backup. Rep, then free another day. Today is impossible. I googled the laws in my country about customers' rights. Turns out they owe me the equivalent of about $200 for bailing on the meeting. I then called the call center back, asked if they were sure that they couldn't send someone. The now pissed off lady repeated that it was impossible. Me, so how would you like to send me the $200 then? Rep, come again? I sent her the link to the law on the government website. Rep, we will send someone over as scheduled. Now this is where I went petty. Me, are you sure? You said the guy was sick. Wouldn't want you to get him out of bed. Rep, sir, the technician will arrive at the scheduled time. Me, it's just that you said it was impossible. I wouldn't want you to break the laws of physics. Rep, sir, the technician will arrive at the scheduled time. Me, I'm just astonished at how flexible it is when a few minutes ago you said that it was totally impossible. Rep, sir, the technician will arrive at the scheduled time. Me, yes, but what changed other than you not wanting to pay out compensation? Rep, sir, the technician will arrive at the scheduled time. Me, because it would seem to me as a layman that maybe it was possible, but you just didn't feel like doing your job until you found out that it would cost you money. Rep, sir, the technician will arrive at the scheduled time. I kept this up for about another 10 minutes and went home in time to get my gas connected. Now I'm moving for the entire 3 apartment buildings, which is 39 apartments, to switch gas companies, and it's going pretty well. First of all, I want to know what country this is that you can actually charge someone for canceling an appointment on you. I definitely could have used this here in the US. And also, 39 apartments may not seem like much to cancel from one gas company and send to another, but that at least definitely puts a little bit of a dent and raises a little bit of a red flag about what a butthole that service rep was. Like, really, you couldn't just send another person? What a butthole. Good job, OP. Our next Reddit post comes from Queasy Highlight 7502, titled, "Don't want a spare day for trash? Fine, no parking for you." A new neighbor just moved in last year to the neighborhood. It was alright most of the time, except that they possess several cars, so the cars are parked on the street side, mainly in front of my house. It was good until several weeks ago when they became more aggressive in claiming the street outside of my house as their parking spot. When my wife tried to park her car there on the street side, they got upset about it and started leaving their cars in front of my house for days at a time. I'm generally fine with it because I don't need that much space in front of the house, except for on Friday when I needed to take out the trash. Friday, a couple of weeks ago, they parked their car in front of my house and left the space in front of their house completely empty. I had to leave my trash cans in my driveway due to the lack of space on the curb. In the meantime, the curb outside of their house was completely empty, no cars or trash cans. After that happened, I felt that it was a move designed to show me that they think that they now own the curbside outside of my house as they have multiple cars. I decided to park my car curbside instead of the driveway for my trip out of state for several days. And then, to top it off, I continue to leave my car curbside now and only park in the driveway when I need to take the trash cans out on Thursday night. I come home from work earlier than them, so I know I will always get first dibs. OP, that's great and all, but if I were you, I would have taken it a step further, and if I knew that I got home an hour before them every single day, and that they left the space in front of their house open constantly just to park in front of my house to be a butthole, I would start parking in front of their house since there's literally nothing they can do about it just to annoy them and show them that if they want to be a butthole, two can play at this game. Our next Reddit post comes from Opossum Saurus, titled Hospital Roommate Called Me Ugly and I Shut Her Up. When I was a sophomore in college, my appendix ruptured and I spent a couple of weeks in the hospital on and off dealing with various infections and surgery. During my first hospital stay, I shared a room with an older Russian woman who just had a gastric bypass. I never said a word to her and just kind of kept to myself, watching TV and chatting with my mom when she came to visit. I felt kind of bad that I had to walk my IV pole past her to use the bathroom because I didn't want to disturb her, so I tried to be as quiet as possible and limit the number of trips that I made. This lady had a habit of talking really loudly on the phone to her daughter, and since she had heard me speaking English with my mom, I guess she assumed that I couldn't understand her. I had started learning Russian as a freshman, so I didn't understand everything that she was saying, but I could gather bits and pieces. One night, she's on the phone with her daughter, and she says something to the tune of, "I don't have the room to myself anymore. I'm sharing it with this girl, and she's really ugly." Obviously, I didn't look great because I had just had a ruptured appendix and was just trying to stay alive at this point. I didn't really care what she thought of me. It just really irked me that she thought that it was okay to talk trash about me to her daughter right in front of me just because she thought that I couldn't understand her. Plus, I was bored and really wanted the satisfaction of making her eat those words. So, next time I was wheeling my IV pole past her to use the bathroom, I put on my sweetest smile and said, "Polite, excuse me," in my best Russian accent. She didn't say anything to me, but she never called her daughter again while I was there because she knew that I could understand every crappy word that she was saying. OP, I really love when those types of scenarios happens. Like, why? Just why would you just sit there and just want to be a butthole to someone who's in the hospital? You're in the hospital too. You would think that you would have a little bit of grace and, understanding for the person that's literally in the hospital bed right next to you. Good for you, OP. I hope you embarrass the crap out of her, and I hope that she learned a good lesson from this. Our next Reddit post comes from Sister Antistidia, titled PettyRevenge on Butthole Shoppers by Being Kind. I'm not sure if this really qualifies as petty revenge, but I do know that it helped a little girl forget about other people's cruelty for at least a little while. Some years ago, I was shopping in Target and noticed a little girl and her mom receiving all sorts of unwarranted negative attention from other shoppers. People were staring, pointing, gasping, and even snickering and talking loudly about the girl between themselves. The girl had to have been around 4 years old and suffered from some sort of congenital disfigurement to her face and head. Like, half of it was kind of dented in. It was bad and kind of shocking, but Jesus, she's just a little girl. Be better, people. It was obvious from the girl and her mom that this kind of rude attention was nothing new. The little girl wouldn't look at anyone, but kept her head down and just looked at the merchandise within reach, or occasionally at her mom. The mom had no problem giving anyone a defiant look and looking anyone in the eyes, shoulders squared, because you could tell that she had no problem standing up to buttholes like these shoppers. And you could tell, too, that unfortunately they didn't have much money. So anyway, I took all of this in while shopping, never directly staring, but mostly watching it out of the corner of my eye. And I felt such a strong need to counter all of this BS and do what I could to try to help this little girl feel like every other 4-year-old living her best life should, at least for a moment. I ditched my cart and ran to the front of the store and stood in a painfully long line to buy a $50 gift card, all while hoping that they didn't leave before I located them again. With the gift card in hand, I lucked out and I found them in the little girl's clothing section, still suffering other people's rudeness as they tried to shop. I approached the mom, and when I said "excuse me," she looked like she was going to clock me, expecting me to say something rude or mean. I tried to show nothing but kindness in my eyes and smiled and said, "I've had this gift card bouncing around in my purse and I always forget to use it. Would it be okay if I gave it to your daughter?" The mom was shocked to receive kindness for once, smiled, and said, "Sure." Smiling, I knelt next to the little girl, and while giving her the card, said, "Pretty girls deserve to buy pretty things," in my best loving mom voice. She shyly took the card from my hand, then turned and raced to her mom to excitedly show her. As I turned to walk away, the mom calls out, "Thank you," and I just waved my hand and said, "You ladies go have fun," and smiled and finished up my shopping, giving every rude jerk in the store the stink eye on my way out. They say that the best revenge is a life well lived, and if only for a little while, I'm glad I was able to help that sweet little girl live her best life. OP, that's so sweet, it almost made me cry just reading that. I don't really think that this qualifies as petty revenge, but I still wanted to read this story because I think it's a great reminder that you should always treat everyone with kindness, and especially little kids. I can't even imagine what that little girl must be going through and what she must deal with constantly, and just, looking at herself and feeling crappy about herself all the time. It's heartbreaking to even think about. So the fact that you brought a little bit of joy to this girl's life when I'm sure she really, really needed it is very special. I wish there were more people in the world like you, OP. That's awesome. Our next Reddit post is from Okie Bobby, titled Turnabout is Fair Play. In a former life, I worked a 24-hour call for an oil service company. We could be dispatched at any time of day or night, and we didn't know how long we might be away when we were called out. Maybe only a few hours, sometimes a couple of days. Any time at home was precious, especially if it meant getting a good night's sleep. Yes, it was a sucky life, but it was compensated by low pay and crappy working conditions. One of my duties as a crew supervisor was to prepare the job invoice. In those days, it was all done by hand. The lady who did the graveyard shift was a dispatcher, and she would review all the day's invoices for accuracy and correct any mistakes. If she had any questions or found any mistakes, she would call you at home in the middle of the night when you and whichever loved ones that you might have had were all peacefully in bed dreaming of a better life. Often enough, the mistakes were obvious and didn't need a call to fix, but of course, she would call anyway, just to let you know that 6 times 9 is not 42. I told her that I didn't mind if she called about a legitimate question, but if it's just an addition or multiplying error, just fix it. There's no need to bother me. She still called anyway, though, with every issue, no matter how insignificant. One day, I finally decided to get even. I called her at home and asked her the most simplest, most inane question about an invoice. I called her again 30 minutes later with another stupid question, and again 15 minutes later with another dumb question. Finally, she told me that since she had to work nights, that I was calling her when she would normally be sleeping. My answer was, now you know what that feels like. After that, she didn't call me at home unless she had a very, very good reason to. And quick edit, I told all the other supervisors what I did and fixed her wagon pretty good. OP, by you saying that you told the other supervisors and fixed her wagon good, I'm going to assume that all the other supervisors followed suit and did the same thing that you did to show her that she was being a butthole and hopefully to really drive that message home to stop calling people for no reason. That was Reddit After Hours, bringing you r/PettyRevenge. Thank you all so much for listening, and if you like these videos, like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below for any future Reddit subs that you'd like us to cover, as we post new Reddit videos almost every single day. And remember, be kind.